I was born in San Jose, California in 1922, and I did my first weaving in high school, and then I did more when I went to San Jose State University. My husband and I came to Hawaii in 1947. When I first came to Hawaii, I was involved more in ceramics. The tapestries didn't start until the 60s, and little by little I just found more customers and did more weaving, and then eventually was given the opportunity to do the murals here at the Capitol. I was thrilled, never needless to say, and then began to worry about how I was going to actually do it and get the crew together. And I had to open a studio. It was up on the second floor on Waimanu Street, about a block or so from Ala Moana Center. And so that was the place where the work was actually done. To do the tapestries, there were 16 people who worked on them. And it included people who had no experience, and they learned on the job. Several of them were from the university who were art students.
She was the first art boss I had, and tremendous to be sort of unofficially mentored, and in fact she was employing us. We knew nothing, most of us knew nothing about this. So, you know, we learned a lot of the basics.
This is a sample card that each of the weavers had. I came across this in my collection, and it had all of the yarns that were used here in the Senate. So everybody had one of these cards so that they didn't get mixed up as to the colors they were to use. This is an actual sample of the weaving. This is the back size. This is the linen warp that was on the looms. And then the wool was done in a knotted technique on this warp. And this is just exactly what the surface looks like. They're called Gordish knots, and it's a typical rug kind of a technique that is used in the Middle East and all for many years.
This particular technique, it's a lot of just, you know, knotting in place. It takes like 20 minutes to do a 4-foot row. And that was sort of, you know, the pace that, you know, that was the goal. And I think 6 inches a day.
I wanted to do something that was abstract and all, but first of all, I had to determine the colors. And so I went for earth colors in the house. And then later when we did the Senate, I chose sea and sky, beach colors more. It was appropriate with the blue carpeting that was in there. I felt that abstract design would be the best. And so I worked on that in that way on both of the tapestries. And of course the work was not hung on the wall. It's a mural that was attached to the wall. The wall has a double curve, ceiling to floor and side to side. So that was a particular problem that we had to face. I had work from an architectural firm, and I also had 2 metal firms, one involving the making of the frames that the weaving were to go on, and another one which actually did the installation. So we ended up with, since the weaving was not, it wasn't possible to just make a flat rectangle. It wasn't going to hang on the wall. So there were actually about 44 different panels, and they ranged in size about in length 7 to 8 feet, and in width about 48 inches each. There were 44 of those. And then there was a 45th panel, which was a rectangle, and went right in the center of the weavings. And that was arranged so that the metal frames that it was on was simply wrapped. There's a screen, and we wrapped the individual parts of the screen so that the sounds would come through. So all those metal frames had the weavings sewn to them, and then they were put up on the framework on the wall. The biggest challenge was when the mill that was sending us the yarns, I had ordered the yarns of special colors and chose the type of yarn and all. And they had a fire. So the weaving, the yarns for our weaving were held up for quite a while. So we managed to get through that one, and that was our most awful moment. I think it was wise to choose the abstract type of thing and let people read what they want to do into it. And they do, and they tell me about it, and I'm always quite amazed. You know, it's interesting. People tell me what they see, and I think it's interesting because I've actually created their interest, and they tell me things that I hadn't even thought of. But no, the dark, warm colors in oranges, browns, and things, golds in the house again were more earthy colors, and then the blues and all in the Senate, more of sky, ocean, sand, the beach. They've also told me that they see the prow of a canoe, things like that. So it's interesting, and it seems to work, and it makes people think about what's there. For some people, it isn't necessary to have representation of any specific things. Just abstract is enough for them. But a lot of people do like to have, a lot of people really do like to have things that they can recognize.
It was astonishing because working, even when the pieces that you're working on are big, you know, 4 by 8 or whatever, you're still only sort of seeing this much at a time because it's, you know, being rolled up as you work. And then you see them when they're being attached to the expanded metal background or structure. But to see the whole thing put together and installed, I mean, even now, I'm just kind of amazed. It's so much bigger than any of us, and I think it's remarkable. It's still remarkable. I wonder how many people actually realize it is a weaving, you know, because from far away you see it as texture and you see the design, but if you know that that's a tapestry, that's weaving, it's even more impressive, I think.
Well, it was a very satisfying and relieving sensation. We'd had such a good time, the group that worked, we had such a wonderful time doing it. And when it came off so well, it was, of course, a big relief too that we had gone through all the problems and managed to get it done. I had never done anything so big and never did it again, and it was an absolute wonderful opportunity for me. I'm so thrilled that they've held up so well, and I think they've got quite a few years ahead of them too.